You guys wanted to see more PK 4.0, and I'm giving you more PK 4.0. What's up, sneaky people? It's your boy FB Kicks and Gear, and I am back with another legit check guide, and this time another highly anticipated, highly requested video, the Travis Scott Jordan 1 Olive PK 4.0 legit check guide comparison. Oh man, that's a lot of words, but yeah, I got it. I heard you guys. You guys wanted to see more PK 4.0, and I'm giving you more PK 4.0. Right before this, I filmed the fragment Travis Scott Jordan 1 Low PK 4.0 video, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to post first, but just so you know, I'm knocking them all out right now. And as of right now, I don't have any more PK 4.0 in the queue. So when the Phantoms release, I'll do the Phantoms. When and if the Fragment Highs release, I'll do the Fragment Highs. But as of right now, nothing. This is all I got. This is the last one in the chamber for PK 4.0. And that's kind of good because I want to fucking wear these shoes. So with that said, let's get into this video. And actually, let's rewind that. Before I start talking about the shoes, remember we are on Discord now. We're trying to make a community about sneakers, about streetwear, about all that good stuff, about legit checking, right? Let's have those discussions. And that Discord link is in the description. If you are like-minded and you are interested in actual legit checking and knowing what real differences are and talking about sneakers in general, join the Discord. It's a pretty dope community. So now that I got that plug in, let's start talking about the shoes. And before we start talking about the shoes, we had to talk about the boxes. And as you guys can probably see in front of you, we have the size 13 women on the left, size 12 and a half women on the right. The 13 is my authentic pair. The boxes more or less are the same color in terms of that off-white pale type of color. The differences do come into play when you're looking at the greens. The green on the authentic pair is a little bit darker up on the top, and then the green on the rep pair is a little bit more faded, a little bit lighter. But there's one thing that I finally noticed on the authentic box that is a dead giveaway in my opinion, and it's something that I haven't seen any rep box do. If you look at the authentic box, there is actually lining around all of the letters. If you look at the green, you'll see this darker shade of green here at the bottom. Hopefully it catches the light differently. While the letters themselves are like a matte color, the lining is shiny and glossy. And you can see that all the way around the swoosh, and you can actually even see it on the whites of the leathers as well, up at the top of the Nike. That's something that I didn't notice at all until recently. And then I reviewed some of my old videos and everything like that, and I realized that the rep boxes don't have that. They just have the Nike swoosh, none of the lining. It's just regular lettering. So pay attention to that. That's actually a really, really, really good way to legit check. And I'm surprised that it took me so long to figure that out. But from there, look at the box labels, and the box labels are more or less the same. PK 4.0 actually uses the closest box label that I've ever seen when it comes to legit checking. So you'll have to be extra precise and extra careful when you're looking at them. Like I said, the giveaway usually comes down to what the discrepancies are between the smallest, lightest text. I usually like to look at the made in China text and compare, but it's actually pretty hard to do that for these because the box labels look so identical. So what you want to look for after that is make sure that if it calls out a RFID tag, to make sure there's actually an RFID tag there. Obviously there's one on the authentic pair, and I can actually kind of feel it behind the label itself. But on the PK 4.0 pair, let's see if I can take a closer look and see if it's there. So I don't actually see a RFID tag on this unless I'm missing it. Sometimes it's really hard to see when it comes to these because you gotta look through the label itself to see it, but I don't see the RFID tag. So very good indicator, good way to tell that it's not authentic. But nobody gives a fuck about the boxes, so let's talk about the shoes. So here we have it. We have the Travis Scott Jordan 1 Low Olive. There are a few things that I like to look for when I'm talking about legit checking these shoes specifically. First and foremost, it's that weird ass banana shape that I see so often on these. I don't know if this is a woman's release thing. I don't know if it is a special thing that they did for this, and I don't know why they did that, but it's got this weird kind of banana shape, and it kind of curves upward. So as of right now, that is not something that I've seen on a replica pair, and I can pretty easily tell that it's not on this pair right now. So maybe that's something to look at. Obviously, when you wear them, they bend out like this, so it's not something that you're going to be able to tell on foot, but you'll definitely be able to tell side to side. You guys let me know if you have any authentic pairs that don't have this weird ass banana shape. But from there, I like to look at the black suede material on the toe box. It's a weird kind of mid-grade level type of suede, or maybe it's nubuck, but reps struggle to actually downgrade their materials to get this. The toe boxes and side panels of the reps that I've seen are usually softer. They definitely have a higher particle count, if that makes sense. There are more hairs, there's more movement, it's softer. This is actually pretty kind of rough and rugged for a nubuck compared to the reps and other Travis Scott 1 Lows. So that was something that's particular about that. And then the last thing that I really like to focus on is generally the reverse swoosh and the swoosh on the other side. For American pairs, this swoosh is usually pretty flat in terms of the nubuck. Doesn't got a lot of motion. There are pairs that do have that motion, but the colors always match. It's just the pairs that do have motion just have whatever more texture than the other pairs like this. But the colors are always the same. I've noticed that reps tend to have that motion. Universally, they have that motion, but the color is usually off. So first thing that we'll do is we'll put them side by side, soles facing each other, and see what we can see. So side by side, we see a couple of things. We see that the PK 4.0 actually has the nubuck that I was talking about. It's a tad bit softer on the side panel, and later in the video we'll see what it looks like on the toe. It's a tad bit softer, but they're definitely that less particle dense nubuck that doesn't have that same kind of motion that regular Travis Scott ones have. One thing I will say though, that there is significantly less padding in this side panel on the Rep PK 4.0 than on the authentic pair. The authentic pair is actually surprisingly plush. But when you look at the reverse swooshes, you definitely have the motion that you see on the Rep pairs that you see a lot, and some authentic pairs too. But that color is definitely a lot closer than I have seen other reps do, and that's surprising. The one kind of silver lining here is that, from what I understand, the pairs that have a ton of motion on the reverse swoosh are pretty exclusive to China and Asia. I don't know how it ended up that way, but that seems to be the case. And one of the things that you'll also obviously see a difference in is the color of the midsole. And normally I would say that's wrong, that's not right, it's not supposed to be that way. But just like how the swoosh can vary in terms of the motion, there are actually pairs of olives that have darker outsole midsoles than others. I don't remember the olives being particularly high volume, obviously higher volume than other Travis Scott 1 Lows, but I have no idea why there ended up being so much variation between the two. But usually when it comes to legit checking, the reverse swoosh and the sole are one of the focal points for most of the other models. So the fact that they're different and they can be different and still be authentic is absolutely wild. So that's something that you got to put in your pocket when you're thinking about this stuff when it comes down to legit checking. So, but yeah, that's what it comes down to when you're talking about that side panel. There's allowed to be variation there, and it really takes away from your ability to legit check based on those things. But when you move to the outsole, you can see that there is a difference in the color of the olive outsole and the authentic version, and that is not supposed to be the case. This is clearly a lot warmer, darker than the authentic pair, so very legit checkable from that perspective at the very least. But from there, I wanted to go to the toe box, because the toe box is usually where I'm able to point out the material differences. But once again, PK 4.0, they used that middle of the way nubuck that the authentic pair does. There is a slight color difference in the blacks, probably has to do with how they dyed the material, but there is a slight color difference. This black is just colder than this black, which is deeper and a little bit warmer. But as you can see, there isn't crazy motion on it, just like the authentic pair, while other reps who might claim to be quote unquote the same quality are actually using a higher quality nubuck when it comes to softness and motion. So that's actually pretty fucking surprising that they got that right. Most replica factories would probably just use the same black they're using for other shoes, and PK 4.0 didn't. So unfortunately, you can't use the outsole, you can't use the reverse swoosh, and you can't use the nubuck unless you're able to pick up the fact that this is a darker, richer black color, but the materials are the same. But so from there, if you can't use those things that are usually pretty easy to do, what can you do? So there are a couple of things that I do like to use that I know have been wrong in other reps. So one thing that reps struggle to do for some reason is they don't actually get the same white leather, and I don't know why. I don't understand what the process is to make Nike's leather, or what leather that they use, but the white leather on the reps are almost always warmer and darker in color than the white leather used on the authentic pair. And it is absolutely the case for this as well. You'll see this a lot on reverse mocha reps too, but you'll see how bright white the white leather is on the authentic pair compared to the rep, which is almost like a sail off white. It's subtle, but it's something that you can tell. And if you have other white Jordans, bright white Jordan 1s, stack them up next to the pair in question and you'll be able to see almost immediately, in my opinion. But other than that, you can also see that sole difference, which is allowable, but it's a difference. It's a difference that you can see, especially in the green, olive green on the bottom, which is not allowable. But that white leather is a pretty good sign. In terms of the Cactus Jack face, I don't really pay attention to embroidery too much because it's absolutely dog shit across the board. Here's the authentic Wings logo. Pretty dog shit in my opinion. And here is the rep. Same level of dog shit. But you can notice the white color difference. It's just warmer for whatever reason. The next thing that I like to do when it comes to looking at things to be able to legit check, I compare the laces, believe it or not. It's a small thing usually left out, but the laces are usually not the same color. So let's see if PK 4.0 did it, or they get their laces from everybody else. So looks like my theory is still correct. And this is hard to do. I hate taking laces out of the bag, but I think I'm gonna do it for this one, guys. So don't say I never do anything for you. If you look at the color of the olives, you can see that there is a slight difference in color. The authentic here on the left is that more olive warm color tone, while the rep is definitely more on the green end, military green. It's really, really slight, and they're really, really close, but there is a slight difference there in color. It's definitely more apparent when you put them side by side in the studio lighting. And then you can usually find the differences in the reds as well. I don't feel like I have to take these ones out to show it, but the authentic red is definitely a brighter and more vibrant than on the rep. The rep on the right here is definitely a darker red, and I think that's a little bit more visual. So the green and the red laces definitely can be used to legit check if you have an authentic pair on hand. The last thing that I'll show you guys that I feel like has been foolproof with other batches is the insole, and it's specifically for the right shoe, and it has to do with this Cactus Jack face. So let me get the other one out and we'll see whether or not this is the case. And I can confirm that this is still 100% the case. The insoles of the reps, there are two big differences. You can see that the difference in the colors of the foreground black, it looks a little bit more navy blue on the rep than it does on the authentic pair, but the easiest way to tell, in my opinion, is how that Cactus Jack hair looks thin and wiry on the authentic pair, but it looks full and blocky on the rep. This is the insole that I've seen in absolutely every other rep. It's always like this, even with PK 4.0. I don't know why they don't get it right, but they don't, and it's been the case across the board for every rep that I've seen. Other than that, you can see definition differences in the outlining on the authentic pair. It's definitely crisper and it's a lot fuzzier on the rep. And that, my friends, is PK 4.0. I'm not going to do a blacklight comparison because it's the same thing as every other batch. You know what's going to light up and what's not going to light up. It's mostly the insole. So there's nothing new to go over in that regard. But now, is this the best batch that I've ever seen? It's up there. It's definitely up there. But even with that being said, completely legit checkable right now. I don't think I've seen a single rep of the Travis Scott One Low Olives that is going to break legit checks. The leather is always a good sign. The insole is definitely a good sign. The red laces are always a good sign. So these shoes are still very much so legit checkable. And then you have the boxed lid that we discovered earlier. So I wouldn't be too worried. Are you going to be called out in these if you're, for whatever reason, find yourself mistakenly wearing a pair of reps? I don't think so. I guess it's going to depend on where you live as well. In America, the flat swoosh is the predominant version that you'll be seeing. You could make an argument that you got these on StockX or something like that and they came from Asia, but predominantly you're not going to see this version that much unless it's a rep here. So but that's not necessarily true. If you order from GOAT these days, it is not uncommon to get a pair from Hong Kong or China. So and most people didn't get these for retail. So but that's just something to think about. Overall, though, still very legit checkable, and that's good for the people that want the authentic pair. So with all that said, guys, remember, you can find more pictures of these on the Instagram account on the screen. Please, 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 please join the Discord, hop into the discussion, talk about shoes, talk about these shoes, tell me how you feel. Tell me that you think I'm wrong, tell me you think I'm right, tell me you hate me, tell me you love me. I don't care. Let's just get the discussion started. So with all that said, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.